Hello and welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of Glazing by the people of Glazing. I'm your host, George, and today I'm delighted to welcome onto the show the new Managing Director of Vista Panels, Chris Burrows. Welcome onto the show, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, George.
No problem. It's an absolute pleasure to get you on at such a pivotal time in your career and the company's career.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's exciting times. It's been a bit of a whirlwind for sure. But I think I've built enough from myself to be able to ride the storm. And it's not really. It's a fun storm. It's about learning and meeting lots of people you haven't met before and involved in areas of the business I've never really had any involvement in. So yeah, it's a massive learning curve for me. But I'm lucky to have lots of good people. So this is a fantastic place.
Perfect. Well, we'll crack on straight on with the first question of, taking you right back to the start of your career and, how did you first get into our wonderful sector?
Absolutely by accident, like most people, I imagine you were.
Shocking. It's always the same.
Yeah, no, I wanted to be in the police of all things,
Okay.
but that didn't happen. I finished my A levels and was due to go to university, but I wanted a year out. So that year out, like a lot of people do, they disappear. They travel the world, which I hate saying, but I went to India for 3 months.
Amazing.
Had a really, really good time. Came back, needed to earn some money, and I happened to live not too far away from Avocet Hardware in Brighouse, West Yorkshire, and they were advertising for telesales. And I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a whirl. Rocked up there, knew 3 or 4 people working there already, and
Okay.
that was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I was there for a few years before I went external, but yeah, it was great times.
Nice. And like you said, you knew a few people, but did you know anything about the industry?
Absolutely nothing at all. And look, hardware wasn't the most straightforward of products to understand. It's quite a technical
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
My mind's okay with that. I quite like things in practical reality. So it was great fun.
Nice. And taking back it, apart from Avocet, what were your early roles like? Were they all sort of sales roles? And, how did you find the industry once you were on the inside?
Yeah, look, my industry, my experience kind of progressed really nicely. I've been given a lot of opportunities. I've proved myself time and time again, and sometimes you've got to take those opportunities. So, telesales, initially it's a tough place to be. I actually think telesales is much harder than external sales face to face because people don't need to be that nice to you. So you need to have thick skin first and foremost. And what it taught me was kind of, how do you plan? You need to do planning. You need to understand who your customer are in more detail. And you need to be pretty snappy on the phone as well and have a really good ability to listen. So in terms of sales, it's a really good sort of background for you to have a career in commercial sales. And you tend to find Avocet Hardware throughout the industry. If you look at a number of people who've done various things in the career, a lot of it started at Avocet Hardware. But just to answer your question, in terms of the progression, a customer gave me an opportunity to go out on the road, and I did that for a little bit of time. Really enjoyed it, but it was actually selling panels, interesting enough, which is kind of what I'm doing now. And I got back into hardware, and just like I said, the opportunities came up, and if it was progression, I'd take it, and it's worked out pretty well. Yeah.
Nice. Has there been any sort of pivotal moments that sort of really shaped you, or memorable moments from those sort of early roles that you thought, you look back on even now, that as your career's progressed, that you thought, that was a good time, or a life lesson?
Oh, yeah. The pivotal moment in my career, I was working for ERA as a regional sales manager. So I had a small team of people. It's a great business. And I had an opportunity to be a sales director in a company. And it was really interesting. I think I was a bit too interested in the title and well, glamour's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. And I'd had a number of discussions, and I was about to accept. And Darren Waters, who weirdly enough is the Eurocell chief executive, who's my boss now, he persuaded me to stay at ERA, and thank God I did. I was given an amazing sort of level of training and learning off people who were really knowledgeable from all sorts of industries, not just fenestration. So I thank Darren for stopping me making that decision. Had I not done that, I'm sure it would have worked out some way, shape or form. But it was the right decision. So it was definitely yeah, definitely the right move. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And as that is Darren, he has had an influence on you with that decision. But has there been any other like sort of people that have influenced you or helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, yeah. Again, I've been dead lucky. I've worked for and with some incredible people. So I've got Paul Reed, who's now sales director of Velux UK. He was my boss for a couple of years.
Yeah,
He taught me about how to manage teams properly, about what to look for, what real objectives and KPIs were about, and that's great for your toolbox to do it properly. So he was instrumental in that respect about professionalising yourself and polishing up your role. And then I worked for a lady called Helen Downer, who was commercial director of Timon, which is Era and other businesses, who then went on to be president. And Helen was, again, she taught me an awful lot more about strategy and about thinking differently. So massively grateful to her. And again, a guy that worked for me. It doesn't have to be, someone in your peer group or someone that you work for.
yeah,
But I work with a guy, a guy worked for me called Darren Bates, who's done phenomenally well in his career, and he told me about key account management and about kind of
nice.
the level of detail you need to go into to really understand everything about that account. And yeah, we were. I say we. I rode on the back of his success to some extent. He was an amazing key account manager. So, planning, application of your planning. And then obviously during your career, you know all of the other bits and pieces that bring it together. But yeah, those three in particular are standouts.
Nice. And we spoke off air about the glazing sector in general. Do you feel like that sort of the ability to speak to different people and take bits from everyone has really helped you sort of get to where you are, that in other sectors you might have not got those different people that are all willing to give you a bit of advice or a bit of training here and there? Do you feel like the glazing sector is quite unique in that sense?
Yeah, look, I've predominantly been in the glazing sector. I had a couple of years out doing something totally different, and when I came back, I actually missed it. And sometimes you don't know what you've got until you haven't got it. But yeah, the people I find the industry actually to be quite welcoming. And I think if you're looking to be a bit of an entrepreneur or looking to do something a bit different, then actually the industry is quite accepting of that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. When you've been involved in fabrics and design, which is what I was involved in before. You know where your home is really.
Yeah. Do you feel like you brought anything from that other industry or the other industries that you worked for into the glazing sector?
100%. Well, it's more to do with business than actual
Yeah.
sectors. I think for me, I was running a small business, and really it was the power of your suppliers. I was really reliant on a couple of really core suppliers.
Yeah.
Had they not been as good, that we would have been in trouble. Now you might see that as risk. The relationship was really really strong, and actually I thought to myself, actually if you're a good supplier, it's a partnership here. It's not just a win-lose situation. There's, you end up coming out of it with a bit more confidence in
Yeah.
what a supplier can do, a good supplier can do, and how it can help businesses survive or thrive in a lot of circumstances. I'd probably say the other side would be, and we're okay at this. There are some businesses better than others, but the design-led, style-led, trend-led. That seems to be, we do a bit of that in this industry, but in comparatively speaking to other industries, we're miles off the pace. And I think
Yeah.
that kind of, that poses some more questions and ultimately some opportunities for
Nice.
me.
Nice. And going on to the current company or Vista, like how did you end up there? Was that the role after you come back into the industry? And yeah, who are Vista Panels for people that don't know?
Yeah, so I ended up at the Eurocell side of the business. I mean, we're all Eurocell, but the Eurocell side of the business initially, it was Darren Walters. He got the big chair and he rang and said, "Are you bored? Are you interested in coming back into to this side?" And I said, "Yeah. When do I start?" And
Yeah.
yeah, I was out and in pretty quickly. So I started in Eurocell and the commercial team alongside Dplas, which had a whale of a time. Actually, it was a lot of fun. If you've got good people in your team and you've got good customers in particular,
Yeah.
we did, you can have a lot of fun there. And
Nice.
we Keith Sadler, who was the MD prior, he was due to retire. So I was brought in as commercial director to learn as much as possible from
Yeah.
Keith and to understand the customer base and the sectors that we serve, and for a decent handover. Been there 2.5 years. Within the Eurocell group for 2.5 years now, and it's been pretty good. But Vista is a cracking company. Look, we the title above the door is Vista Panels. It's a bit misleading. We do panels, but we do a hell of a lot more composite doors.
Yeah.
Many people won't know this because we don't shout about it too much, but we are probably second in terms of volume and value in the industry. So we're a really, really big player.
Mm.
Um, the, um, uh, the business started, like I said, 30 years ago, just making panels. And I think it was about 12, 13 years ago, got into the composite door market.
Yeah.
We supply three sectors. Trade, which includes Eurocell and trade counters.
Yeah.
A big part is new build, so we deal with all but one of the major house builders. We're doing a bit of social housing as well, either via customers or direct. So that keeps you on your toes. There's a different approach and a different proposition for each of those.
Yeah.
So it's I guess the 30th anniversary is a big thing that we kind of talked about last year.
Yeah.
And I guess sometimes you can be really inward looking about, self-congratulatory about your achievements. But, actually, the time we've had, it's about, how have we served our customers through lots of change? So our customers have been faced with recessions, credit crunches,
Yeah.
pandemics, the rest. And,
That's some of those are just in the last couple of years, few years. It's been
we,
crazy times, hasn't it?
it's been an absolutely mental time in that respect. But so the changing environment, the pressures, expectations have changed as well, massively changed. So those 30 years have given us a really good opportunity to change with the times and develop and become a better company.
Yeah, nice. And speaking of that anniversary, obviously it's a big anniversary. Not all companies reach 30 years. Like how did that milestone feel for you? Obviously you haven't been there for the 30 years, but you've played a big part in it, especially obviously with Eurocell. Like does it feel, good to celebrate that? But does it also come with a bit of pressure of, being an older company?
Yeah, look, yes and no. I mean, it's great to be around for 30 years. It means we're doing something right. But actually, the praise is really directed towards the team that are there, that have been with us. And we've got a lot of people who have done more than 20 years in our organisation, which is fantastic. We've got, gosh, 25 customers that have been with us over 20 years as well. So, we've got these really long-term relationships. And, you talked about the kind of, storms of before. Our customers have ridden the storm with us during that time. So we wouldn't be here for 30 years had it not been for loyal customers and kind of our suppliers. Let's not forget that. We've got some long-term suppliers that have been with us for years. You're all joined together. You can't. It's difficult to be 30 years successful without all of those, relationships working well with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and how would you say Vista distinguishes in the market? How are you different from other companies, or how do you sell yourself as a different company? Obviously, we've got a lot of companies in here, and there's everyone does bits of the same. But how does Vista look to? How would you show off Vista if you could?
Yeah, well, you're quite right. We in some respects we're selling a GRP composite door.
Yeah,
Most fabricators are making their own. If they're not, there's specialist door companies out there. So on the face of it, what is the difference? Well, the difference is this. We have the best lead times in the industry.
nice.
If we are, because of the nature of our business, we are a just-in-time business. So you need lots of stock. You need really efficient operations, and everything needs to work like clockwork for that to happen. So our
Yeah.
lead times are 5 days and 8 days for any painted door. And we don't really shout about it, and we should do more because these are our standard times.
Mm.
These aren't our few
Yeah,
choices
on
here.
yeah on an ad hoc basis. That's your
Yeah, exactly. And customers love that, especially when you've proved that you're reliable. It means they're not holding on to doors for a long period of time, so they've got to pay for it. Equally, the new build sector for us, some of our competitors send a month before the door needs to be fitted. For us, it's we'll send it a few days before. It'll be stored and it'll be fitted, and it'll be the door hasn't been lent against a building and moving around. So it helps with the quality side as well. So I would say that our lead times and service is up there. But equally, we've got painting. I know there's other businesses, there's a few out there that have got their own paint labs that can paint any design. We've been doing it for a long time, and we're really, really good at it. So they're the two differentiators that spring to mind.
Nice. And you mentioned about you started back at Eurocell before moving on to Vista. How does that relationship work, and how integral are a company of the size and of the caliber of Eurocell? How good is it to work with them now?
Look, you've got oodles and oodles of not only experience but resource in that organisation, so we can tap into that. I'm really lucky because I know the team there really well, both in the branch network and in the systems side. So that's fantastic, leveraging those relationships, their customer relationships with me as well. And look, we make a lot of doors. They are our single biggest customer, even though we are part of the same group. So that relationship throughout the branch network needs to be pretty strong. We need to be reliable. We need to be the real experts in that field, because a branch has got thousands of products to sell, and the most complicated one will be the conservatory roof, followed by the door. So we've got to be on hand to offer everything, and we have engineers, a team of engineers, 4 across the country full time, dealing with problems when problems do occur, and to help our customers train. So toolbox talks we offer. We do an awful lot in the new build sector, and that includes the Eurocell guys as well. So if you've got a customer who's interested in the door, every door is slightly different. We've got plenty of people who be able to show you how we do it and how we like it to be fit, and that works really well. It's just another part of the service, really.
Nice. And obviously, we said at the top of you now becoming managing director of Vista Panels. Obviously, congratulations again on getting that. And you
Thank you.
said off air that you've been doing it for a few months, sort of in the handover period. But how does it feel to be the managing director?
Yeah, it's actually really exciting. I thought, come, get rid of the hangover. Come, January 1st, 2nd, I'd be filled with fear. But
Yeah.
no, look, I'm really, really fortunate. I've got colleagues at Compdor, which are part of the group, which again, lots of experience. They've been super helpful. I've got the people at Eurocell the same, and actually the biggest part of it is the team around me. I've got a really, really special team of people who, in their relevant departments, are the experts. So I've not got a huge amount of operational experience, but I've got a couple of people which are absolutely fantastic. I trust them to do the job, and they do it to the best of their ability. So yeah, it feels great, but it only feels great because I've got a lot of the pieces of the puzzle already worked out. I think this year for me, you kind of got to develop in the areas you're a bit weak on. So I'm strong on commercial sales. I'm okay on marketing, product development. I've had some experience there, but logistics, manufacturing, compliance, health and safety. Health and safety is a big one, George. It's that one does keep you awake at night sometimes. So yeah, I'm still in the honeymoon phase where I've got a smile on my face, and I love getting out of bed, and I think that'll continue. I don't see that changing.
Yeah, nice. And what excites you most about this year? Obviously, your first year being MD. What excites you most? What's something that's going to get you out of the bed? On those potentially tougher days where you think, we've got something good here.
Yeah, look, I think there's a few things. Well, the first thing that gets you out of bed on bad days is, I've got 185 people who've got families who are relying on me making the right decision as often as you can. Fortunately, you can't be perfect, but you try and make the right decisions based on the information you have. So that kind of on a bad day will get me out of bed. But actually, customers, I will never stop seeing customers. I've always been someone who builds relationships, because I think relationships, in particular in the glazing industry, are what keeps us going when the times are tough. And I never want that to stop ever. And actually, the MD position means that I've got a huge amount of influence over what we do. So the relationships that I have with customers means that actually we can offer you an even better level of service because I understand their business more. But yeah, it's the number, the sales number excites me. I like to achieve a target. I'm extremely target driven and orientated. So I think you need to be that in anything to do with sales, but in particular, being the MD, it's just that the targets are a little bit different. Not just sales, it's margin, health and safety, everything you can imagine you cover.
Nice. And what does 2026 look like for Vista? Is it a case of, you obviously, to reach those targets, of course you want to make them. What are you looking at to build on this year?
Look, we I've worked in lots and lots of businesses, and the most successful businesses have been really good with customers. So at every touch point, no matter who it is you speak to, if it's the van driver or if it's the managing director, whoever, that experience is positive. Helpful, can solve problems, reliable. You want to be the best you possibly can be, and really for us this year, looking ahead for this year, customer support is a big thing. We've been very, very, and quite rightly, concentrating on a number of sectors and been really successful there. I still believe we've, in terms of trade and retail side, I think there's a few more gears we can go through. So we want to support our customers to sell more. We want to look at the range and maybe freshen some things up. We looking at the future homes legislation that's coming through this year, being absolutely match fit, which we are, but actually announcing that we're match fit for new building regs that are coming through. So yeah, for us, it's making sure that we're fit and ready for 2026 and beyond, and really in relatively tough times, giving our customers what they want to be able to go out and do what they do, which is sell and install doors.
Nice. And speaking about yourself, obviously you've now reached the top at a certain extent. What key skills would you say you have that you've brought to get up that ladder? Not everyone makes it up that, but there might be people listening here today that want to be an MD one day, and they think, I need a few more strings to my bow as such to make it there. What would you say makes you stand out as an MD now that you've taken to become into that role?
First of all, most if you've got your sights in the MD role, go for it. Don't
Yeah.
let anything get in your way. First of all, I sometimes the only thing that I see nowadays is sometimes a bit of lack of ambition, generally speaking. So if there is somebody thinking of that, I would say you absolutely go for it. Now,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a cliche, but you do need thick skin. You're dealing with sometimes complex people internally and externally.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of resilience, I guess, but ultimately accountability. What you like, being accountable for everything. Do you if you're a salesperson, if your sales are down, do you blame everything but yourself? What's your version of events, I guess? But being
Mm.
accountable for what you do, and actually a bit of foresight. So people talk about strategy and so on, but it's about preparing for the future, and that you are ready for that future. So there's quite a few plates that spin, so you've got to be pretty good at spinning those plates. But the biggest thing I would say, honestly, and you'll have this with lots of the people you speak to, it's have a good team around you, people that are
Yeah.
reliable and trustworthy. Because if you don't have that, then the job's 10 times harder. If you have that, then you're able to, yeah, you'll be able to do a great job. So yeah, good luck to anyone who wants to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I think you're right about having those people around you, that team around you. I think we spoke on previous episodes about how integral they are, and sometimes you might not post them out on social media, but it means that it doesn't mean that they're no less important to the business and the success of any business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Look, what does success look like? That's the first thing, and each of us think success is different. It doesn't matter how minor that is or big that is. If we're all playing our part and we're all doing if we're all hitting it, being the best we possibly can be, then
Yeah,
everyone's gonna win in the end. And again, a little bit cliched, I guess, but yeah, the team around you is good. People willing to learn is always good, and it's one thing I was told very, very early on was, keep your eyes and ears open. There's people who know a lot more than you'll ever know. And that's
yeah,
now I still know nothing, absolutely nothing.
yeah,
Um, but I think if people know that you're good to deal with, you try, you work hard, you build something, a good culture around you. The rest of it is fairly straightforward. And business shouldn't be ultra complicated. Maybe in some certain sectors it is, but the glazing industry shouldn't be overly complicated, unless you're talking about the future homes. But that's a story
yeah.
for another time.
Whole
But
different podcast episode about
yeah,
compliance and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And lastly, for the main part of the podcast, if you're speaking to your younger self, we ask this question quite regularly, but it's quite apt with you just taking on a big role like this. if you're speaking to your younger self, would you give yourself any advice, or would you say, you're doing all right, you've done all right, like keep going what you was doing?
Well, the first thing would be avoid the Acapulco nightclub in Halifax. So aside from that, George, yeah, look, the younger self I would say slow down a little bit. If I could give some advice, slow down a little bit, take a breath. I've always had a lot of energy about me, and sometimes I've wanted to get to that point and miss a few points along the way, and nothing is ever as straightforward as that. And experience, it gives you that wisdom to know that there's a process to go through, and it's never that straightforward. But keep your enthusiasm up. That's also what I'd say. Don't stop. Being enthusiastic and want to win and do the right thing. They're probably the bits of advice I'd give.
Nice, perfect. Well, thanks so much, Chris. We're going to move on to our new section for this year. This series is a this or that. So I'll ask you a question, easy question, and it's just this or that, and just no thinking about it, just first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
So first thing is, do you prefer being in the office or on a factory floor?
Office.
Nice. Are you an early starter or a late finisher?
Early. Unbelievably early.
Are you a phone call person or an email guy? Or I guess probably now both.
Yeah, it is both. But out of the two, it'd be a phone call.
Yeah, nice. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Yeah.
Nice. Morning or evenings?
Always mornings. Yeah, I'm asleep. My wife kills me. We'll be watching the Night Manager or whatever it is we're watching. I'll never see the end of it on an evening. No, I'm an early riser, early finisher.
Do you prefer being always on time or always prepared?
On time. Look, it's been built in me from my dad.
Yeah.
On time is late in his book. So yeah, always on time. But preparation is a massive part of what I do either. So that's a tough one. Yeah, but on time.
Are you a sort of a one big goal kind of person where you want the end goal, or lots of small wins to get you there?
Big goal. Yeah, big goal, but I need to break it down sometimes. But yeah, big goal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Are you, I mean, this is a bit easy. Do you like a busy schedule? Or do you like a bit of, gaps to be able to chill out a bit and, switch off, or even if it's for an hour?
I'd like a bit of both at the moment, but at the moment it's absolutely full on. So yeah, the latter would be nice, but no, it's you're at your best when I am at my best when I'm busy and things are happening. Yeah.
Nice. Are you a staying in person or going out when you can?
Oh gosh, staying in nowadays. Yeah.
Nice. And lastly, do you like trying something new or perfecting what you know?
Something new.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, for our last part of the podcast, we'd like to get our guests to give a shout out. It can be to people in the industry, out the industry, friends, family, whoever you want it to be. So who are your shout out or shout outs for?
Oh, look, I'm spending a lot of time away at the moment, and I've got 2 kids that are youngish, and my wife is amazing. She has got a full-time job, and she still managed to spin all the plates back at home. So I'm eternally grateful to her. And and I guess within the industry, I'll give a shout out to who is now my new boss, which is Steve Hudson, who's a top fella. I've been leaning on him a fair bit over the last month, and he's been really good, really supportive. So yeah, a bit of both.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Chris, for joining us on Two Pigs in a Pod today. It's been really good to get to know you a bit more, and about your career, and of course all about Vista and your new role.
Yeah, thanks ever so much. Thanks for having me, George.
No problem. So that's it for today. You can find this episode and all our previous ones on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk, on our YouTube channel at People in Glazing Society, and also available to download on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And whilst you're there, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you make sure you never miss an episode. So once again, thanks to Chris for joining us, and see you for another episode soon.